Hey, welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast. We are so glad to have you back here with us. All of the Commanders fans that check us out, thank you for doing so. Make sure you're subscribed, lock in, check us out every week. If you are a fan of the opposing teams, which we get so many in the comments, just make sure you like your own comment so that you can remember to come back to it and see how we proved you wrong with our analysis of the upcoming game against the Cowboys this week. So this weekend, with that being said, it is officially Dallas week, guys. Right? This is a week that holds a lot of regard, or held in high regard amongst Commanders fans because of the rivalry over the years. Everybody knows why. It is now a new era, though. We are the big dogs on the block, and the Cowboys are the poodles in the backyard, right? So we are ready to wreck shop and wreak havoc. The first question I got for you, Eric, Jayden Daniels. Everybody's saying he's healthy. The coach says he's healthy. Jayden says he's healthy. Are you seeing healthy and Jayden Daniels on the field?
No, he's not as. No, I'm not seeing it. If he's healthy, then he's regressed. So I prefer to think that he's unhealthy rather than having regressed because the fluidity in the scrambles just hasn't been there the past couple of weeks, and that's concerning to me. As much as I would like him to be a passer first, and I think he still is, the ability to scramble and make teams pay for going man to man coverage is a big part of his game. And I just haven't seen, especially last week. He exposed himself to a lot of hits last week, which we haven't seen in him doing all year. And I just feel like to me, it seems that he's not 100%. And at this point in the season, nobody's 100%. But I don't think he's not what he's not as fluid as he was early in the season. And I think that rib injury is still lingering.
And Mike, if he's not all the way healthy, why are the coaches going so far out of their way to say that he is? Why does that matter so much to them?
I don't know. It is weird. Like it's so weird that the last two out of the last three times Dan Quinn opened a press conference, he voluntarily says that Jayden Daniels isn't injured. When we all see that something is going on with him, it's not just the offense is slowing down. It's not just the rookie. Like something is off with him. Everybody's been talking about it. The pass to Noah Brown that hit his feet in the Eagles game, like that's a worm killer. We haven't seen those since McNabb. I feel like that was bad. But I agree with what Kime said. John Kime said a couple of days ago. Like it's not all the throws. It's just some throws that looks off with him. And I don't know if the coaches are trying to psych us out or trying to make it seem like things aren't as bad as they are. Like I can't give you a solid answer because the fact that it's even happening is really confusing. Like, why are you so adamant that telling the media that this man isn't injured or he isn't hurt or whatever, or whatever is not the ribs aren't affecting this play when we see the contrary. We see it with our own two eyes. I know they're professionals or whatever, but the first I don't 8 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever before the Panthers game are completely different than the last 4 weeks, especially the last 2 weeks.
Right. Somebody had a theory, maybe it was one of you guys in our chat or something like that, but that maybe I don't know, I don't want to call it a flak jacket, but that rib protection that he's wearing is getting in the way of his throwing motion. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe he really isn't all that injured, but maybe the protection he's wearing to prevent further injury is getting in the way. I don't know. It's a plausible theory. You see them messing with that rib pad after every drive. He's got his jersey up and they're like tweaking and tugging on that little rib protection. So whatever it is with Jayden, I hope he gets back on track. I do want to say, let's account for the fact that we played some really solid defenses the last couple of weeks. That does matter, and that will change things for you as a quarterback, like it did for Lamar against the Steelers, right? The Steelers have a borderline elite defense, at least with regards to today's NFL. All right. That being said, we are still in really good shape to make the playoffs this year. As a matter of fact, let me click over to the NFC. I mean, the NFC, excuse me. but I believe the Commanders are something like 84% likely to make the playoffs this year. 88% actually to make the playoffs this year, and 15% to win the division, 2% to earn the bye, and we went from 11 to 6% to make the Super Bowl. Eric, are there any teams that are currently in the playoff picture that give you any greater concern than any other teams we might potentially be facing if things play out the rest of the way? And before you answer that, let me give you the playoff teams.
Okay.
The Detroit Lions, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Minnesota Vikings, the Green Bay Packers, the Atlanta Falcons. How many did I give you? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the Arizona Cardinals, I think, as of today.
Yep. So
any of those teams give you any concern?
The way things are shaping up with Washington, and it depends, but I mean, I'm still, the last 2 weeks, I've kind of, I know, I think I picked Washington to win last week, but it was kind of like a, throw it out there pick. They're still on par to win. They've still got at least 4 winnable games left. The games that you look at the schedule, this week being one of them, you look at the schedule and I know, Mike, 5. Okay, I'll say 4 because the Falcons
are you talking about Atlanta?
They're still
5.
in first place. I'm just saying there's 4 games that you look at and you're like, dub, right? And that's going to be, the 2 against the Cowboys, the Saints, and the Titans. Those are games that, barring anything crazy happening, this team should win, will definitely be favored in. So that puts you at an 11-win season. So even if you don't win those other 2, the Philly and the Atlanta, if you don't beat those 2 teams, you still finish 11-6, which probably puts you in that number 5 spot. Means you're probably playing either the Falcons or the Cardinals, and neither of those teams should scare you in the playoffs. Neither team, it's not a team that like somebody like the 49ers that is not playing well right now but has a ton of playoff experience. That's not a team I'd want to play in the first round. The Cardinals or the Falcons are basically on the same level as Washington is with, an up-and-coming team right now that, is having some success this year, but they're not a battle-tested, playoff-tested team. So those are the teams that I would kind of like to see should we get into the playoffs. And that's kind of the way things are shaping up. The teams like the Eagles, teams like, obviously the Lions went to the NFC Championship last year, and they just look unstoppable. A lot can change between now and, the playoffs, but that's what it looks like right now. Most likely won't be seeing those teams in week 1 of the playoffs anyway. But those are the teams. If I had to pick, I would definitely choose like Falcons or Cardinals of someone I'd want to play. Now, should Washington come back and win the division, you're probably playing Philly in their first round of the playoffs. But should that happen, then you've already beaten Philly. And you're getting them again at home. So, all bets are off there, but we'll wait and see what happens. But right now it's looking like this team will end up playing the Cardinals or the Falcons or one of the weaker division champion. They already stomped the Cardinals. They're going to play the Falcons, so we'll see how that turns out. But those are the teams you kind of want to see.
Yeah. Tampa Bay's still in the mix there as well, but not by a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah.
Mike, what about you? What teams kind of make you nervous to play?
Might sound ridiculous, but none. Not even the Lions. I get it. They've been crushing people, but they played the Texans and Vikings pretty close during this run that they've been on. I think they've only won by 3 against the Texans, won by a few versus the Vikings. So yeah, they might be destroying the lesser teams as expected, even though they put it on teams. Like they put 50 on the Titans and the Jaguars. I'm not sure Washington can do that. But when in a win or lose situation, none of the teams in the NFC scares me. Like we just went toe to toe with the Eagles and Pittsburgh back to back. Yes, we lost both games, but I feel like we were competitive in both of those games, and we weren't even playing at the top of our level. Like it's that simple to me. That's why my headline says y'all lunching right now, man. Like I get it. Like the rib is messing y'all up. The blown leads in the second half. Like I get it, but we can't worry about the stuff that has happened. All we can do is try to predict and project what's going to happen. And in a playoff situation, I like this team versus any team in the NFL. Not saying that they can beat any team in the NFL. Like, let's not get it twisted.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, and I'll leave it at this. Remember in 2020 when we won the division and we played the Buccaneers and things kind of got interesting late in that playoff game, that wild card game, stadium was empty or whatever. I think people were surprised by that. The fact that we were hanging with the Bucs and they went on to win the Super Bowl. So people were probably even more surprised thinking back on it. Like, man, Washington was the team that played them the best up to that run. I don't think anybody's being caught off guard by this team right now. Like, if you go to the playoffs and you got Washington on, you have to face Washington, you're going to feel it. Like, before the game starts, you're going to be like, oh, this is not good. Because they got a quarterback that they can trust now. The playmakers may not be elite, but they have them. And the defense is growing, and we haven't even inputted Lattimore yet. So, no, I'm not scared of the Lions. Of course, they'll be favored, and I'll probably even pick Detroit to win. But I'm really not afraid of any team right now in the NFL, especially in a win-or-go-home situation.
I can respect it. The two teams that I think give me the most concern would be the Vikings and the Packers. I think both of those teams present some very interesting problems for us that Kingsbury and Joe Witt would really have to be thoughtful on how to solve. So, but I'm with you guys. Like, I don't. My boots aren't shaking or knees aren't knocking for anybody in particular. All right. Follow-up question to that before we get into the Cowboys. Eric, how far can this team realistically go, provided everything does take place and we make the playoffs?
It's interesting. I would like to see this team at least win a playoff game. I don't think this team is a threat to win the NFC Championship. I don't think they're there yet. The talent isn't there yet. If you look at like the Lions, you look at the Eagles right now, what they have is, again, we discussed in depth last week what I think of the Eagles quarterback, but and this is a similar situation with the Lions where their quarterbacks don't scare me. It's what's around the quarterback that is so good. When you the Lions offensive line, the Eagles offensive line are phenomenal. The Lions have the best playmaking core in the NFC, followed closely probably by the Eagles, maybe the 49ers, who just haven't been healthy. Washington just isn't there yet. You saw the offensive line just get completely dominated last week by that Eagles defensive front. We're not built yet we're way ahead of schedule in whatever this retooling is, but I don't think we're there yet to threaten to make a Super Bowl run. I'd love for them to prove me wrong, but that's just what I see. That said, I would love to see this team for the first time since I was in my 20s win a playoff game. That'd be awesome. No, dang it, I was 30. I had just turned 30 last time they won a playoff game. But it's been a long time, and I'm really old. So thanks for bringing that up, guys. But yeah, I think second round. If you can get to the second round of the playoffs, make it interesting. Maybe NFC Championship. That'd be awesome. I would not like to see this team be a one and done. I hope that doesn't happen. But I think talent wise, like I said, if you finish in that 5 spot, you're going to end up playing the Cardinals or the Falcons or somebody like that, or the Bucks, who are really beat up. And you can come out and win that playoff game. Even honestly, Seattle, that'd be a tough game, a playoff game in Seattle, but I think this team's capable of pulling it off. So if they end up winning the West, one of those teams, I think Washington can beat. So I'd like to see second round of the playoffs, long story short.
Okay. And Mike, the Eagles, their remaining schedule is against the Rams, who have Puka Nacua back, and I think Cooper Kupp as well. They're starting to put up numbers. Then they play Baltimore at Baltimore. They get a gimme game against the Carolina Panthers. Then they play the Steelers at home, and then they kind of come back and see us. So then after that, they go to Dallas. That's a win, and they're going to finish with what I assume is a win against the Giants, because the Giants have benched their quarterback, by the way, NFC East news. How many
They
wins do
probably
you
got a
think
better
are
chance now that they mentioned though. Come on.
yeah. Their chances just went up, actually. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
So out of those games, I'm seeing about 3 wins left for the Eagles. Are you seeing about the same from those teams I mentioned, Mike?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It just seemed like they're gonna win one of those Steelers and Philadelphia games. I mean, not Philadelphia, Baltimore
Ravens.
games. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And yeah, they'll probably beat us again too. Like, I ain't gonna hold you. Like, it's yeah. I I really hope they fall again. Like, if they collapse and lose another division again that they was probably supposed to have won, that would be amazing. But I don't know, man. Expecting them to lose 3 out of the next 6 and us win 5 out of the next 6. I don't know, bro. It's not looking too well for us. Well, I'm sorry, 3 out of the next 7. How many games? Yeah,
6.
they have 7 games.
They got 7 left.
Yeah, because
No.
if we have 6, they have to have 7.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's get into the Cowboys. The Washington Cowboys.
We have to.
Wow. The Dallas Cowboys are 3-7. They have given up 30 points or more to basically every team they played, -1. Their quarterback is out for the season. They're starting Cooper Rush. Eric, what do you think the Cowboys are going to try to do offensively this week?
They're going to try to score points, but they haven't done that much of that lately. Who's that quarterback? Cooper Rush. I keep wanting to say Ben DiNucci, but that was like 5 years ago. Cooper Rush. He threw for like 350 yards last week, but they're getting waxed. So, he's throwing it all over. They still got CD Lamb. So, yeah, if they're smart, they're going to try to get the ball to their playmakers and let them try to make plays. But they're hurting just across the board. I mean, their whole offensive line is like questionable going into the week. Like their entire, it's like other than their center, I think their whole offensive line is questionable this week. Their top their number 2 receiver is on Brandon Cooks is on IR. CD Lamb is out there. Rico Dowdle's their starting running back. Not super impressive, but he could beat out Ezekiel Elliott for a job, I guess. They're hurting across the board on offense. I think it seems very clear that Mike McCarthy has lost the locker room at this point. They don't seem to care very much about what they're doing right now on the field. I think they're just trying to limp through the season and finish things out. That's what it seems like from afar. I could be wrong, and anything can happen. So, hopefully I've got CD Lamb on a backup fantasy league, and I need him to do well this week. So I hope they throw it to him a lot. That's really all I care about. And just try to get through the game without having to go to Trey Lance at quarterback, because that really is worst case scenario. He's like the prototype for Bryce Young. So yeah, the running game, the offensive line is not what it was. The running game is no longer what it was. The passing game really is no longer what it was. They're still capable of doing things in all 3 of those facets. Putting all 3 together in one game has kind of eluded them this year. I hope that continues for at least this week, but we will see. But long story short, the offense does not scare and should not scare anyone in and around the NFL circles.
Definitely agree. Mike, what about the defense for Washington against this offense from Dallas? You see them having a field day?
A field day is a strong reach with this defense because of how inconsistent they've been. If you give me the defense that played in the first half versus Philly, yeah, why not? They only allow Philly to score 3 points. But if you give me the fourth quarter defense versus Philly, nah, bro, it's not happening. I think it'll land somewhere in the middle. You really only have to, like you were saying, you really only have to worry about CD Lamb for real. If you could find a way to, honestly, I would apply the same strategy that Philly did with Terry McLaurin. Bracket him, double him every play. Have 2 people on that man every single play. Let the other players beat you. If that means that you got to leave, can't think of the other receiver.
Jalen Tolbert.
Sure, let's say Tolbert. If that means that Tolbert beats your defense, then you got bigger problems, bro. But I don't know much about Rico Dowd, the running back. I don't think Dalvin Cook is going to do much. It could be a field day, bro. I ain't gonna hold you, but at the same time, with how inconsistent the defense has been, we can get old St. Juice, or I'm sorry, we can get bad St. Juice this week versus the Cowboys, and not the good St. Juice that we got last week versus Philly. So I don't know. If I would say this, if you told me if you told me that I had to bet on it, and you gave me $100 to bet and said I could pick any number I want, I'll probably throw 30 on the fact that they could have multiple turnovers and maybe a defensive touchdown and lock the Cowboys down. So I guess you could say I'm 30% sure they can do that.
Okay, I'll take it. And then Eric, offensively for the Commanders, we're playing against a defense that still has Micah Parsons and a few other pieces, but this defense is not what it once was. And I'm not sure they intend to be, because they might be hunting draft picks. But you think Jayden Daniels gets back on track this week against the Cowboys?
I hope so. Is Micah Parsons back? It shows me how much I care about the Cowboys. Is he back?
Yes, he played against the Texans.
Okay, so he's back. So they're going to have to account for him. Mazzie Smith hasn't really worked out. You got to account. Yeah, you got to account for Micah Parsons. I mean, the secondary, still a bunch of talent back there with Diggs and Hook and Bland, and Malik Hooker playing safety. But without a pass rush, they're a lot less impressive. We've seen that. We've seen that before in DC when the pass rush doesn't work and the secondary gets exposed. So if they can contain, if the offensive line can hold up, and they're not facing near a fierce pass rush as they were last week, where again, I can't stress enough how much our offensive line just got dominated last week. That shouldn't happen this week. And if that is the case, Jayden Daniels should play much better, because I think, again, Dallas seems to be kind of phoning it in at this point in the season. They're kind of turning on each other in the locker room. They've kind of given up. They're turning on their coach. So hopefully we can just use this as a Dan Quinn recruiting trip to bring Michael Parsons over to DC in a couple of years, and call it a day. But yeah, the Commanders' offense is going to attack that defense the same way it attacks every defense. It's going to try to run the ball, and it's going to sprinkle in passes. We'd like to see some deep shots. Got 0 deep shots last week, and you get the receivers a little bit more involved. Because Austin Eckler and Zach Ertz, as nice as they are to have, they're not going to carry. They shouldn't be carrying your offense. So you got to get Terry McLaurin involved. You got to get even if it's those 50-50 balls, like you got to throw one up and just have him go get it, which Jayden didn't do last week. You got to get that going. You need to get those deep shots to open things up. But I think if you can get up a score or two early, I think Cowboys are just going to fold it in and call it a day. So that's hopefully the game plan.
No doubt. And then, Mike, what do you think from a defensive perspective that they can even offer against the Commanders this week, given how many points they've given up this season?
Man, they kind of got to hope that the Commanders are still off schedule, because, I mean, even with Parsons, they could get lit up like a Christmas tree, even before Thanksgiving. I know some of y'all are against that, but whatever. I really don't know, man, because not only are the players not as good as they once were, losing that scheme, losing Witt and Quinn really has seemed to affect them. And you have to look no further than the success that Washington has had on defense this season with lesser talent to know that the Cowboys are struggling on that side of the ball, real talk. So, I don't know, man. I guess their best hope is for Parsons to have like a Lawrence Taylor-esque game where he just completely dominates the line of scrimmage on both tackles, the left and the right side. and force a couple of turnovers, but I just don't see it happening, man. Especially the last couple of weeks. Let me just look at their schedule real quick. The Dirty Birds threw up 27 on them, but the last 2 weeks, Philly and Houston scored 34.
Right.
I feel like 30 is definitely within reach for Washington, and I just don't think the Cowboys defense, even with Diggs and if Diggs is not injured, I haven't seen any injury report. I don't know like who's in or out for Dallas, but yeah, regardless, if Philly and Houston is going up 30, surely Washington can throw 25 on them easily,
Yeah.
even
I
if they
think
are off schedule.
if we get up 2 scores and early, I think it's over. Game's over.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap if they get a lead on the Cowboys. It's curtains.
Yeah. All right. So we kind of said how we think it's going to go, but Eric, what's your prediction and your score, if you will?
Yeah, the fact that I'm so confident about a win in this game makes me a little bit uncomfortable. When it's a division game like this, it feels like really weird to be this confident in beating a team. But the Cowboys really are bad, and defensively, I think Mike Zimmer, the game has kind of passed him by, and I don't see a resurgence in his brilliance anytime soon. So I am going to pick Washington in this one. And I'm going to pick, I don't think 30. I don't think they hit 30. I'm going to go 28, and Cowboys probably 17. And the reason is I think they get up early and they just start running the ball. They just pound the ball and it turns into like kind of a boring game. But yeah, so I'm going to go 28-17 Washington.
Okay. Still a win. Mike, what do you think the outcome is?
Like, y'all know we've been in this situation before, at least from the Cowboys side. We've
Last
been
year.
in this situation, yeah, where we were the team that was struggling and we were the team that was looking dysfunctional, and then our stadium was messing up. Like, we really were. I mean, we really have been in their shoes before, and we've beaten Dallas a couple of times. One of the games that come to mind is the Nick Novak, Sean Taylor face mask game. We shouldn't have won that game in 06 versus the Cowboys. Nor should we have won in 2014 on Monday Night Football with Colt McCoy. And the Dallas Cowboys should not win on Sunday. And they're not going to win. 27-20 Washington, man. Get them up out of here.
27-20. Okay. I got us going back to our scoring ways. I got us 38, Dallas 16. We're taking the easy dub. We get out of there and we go head on to the next opponent after that. But
So
I don't
want to
think Dallas
predict 44-9.
No. It's gonna be something like that. It's gonna be 38-16 this week, though. We're gonna bring it. So all right. Eric, any final thoughts?
Dallas week is dead. Long live not caring about what other teams do.
Dang, Dallas week is dead. No, man, we're
Dallas
bringing
week
it back
is
in
dead.
style.
No, I don't want. Don't bring it back. Dallas does not have a Washington week. We should not have a Dallas week.
Okay.
Dallas does not care about us.
Do.
Nah, they don't care about us. And even if they do, that's even better because we should not be caring about what the Dallas Cowboys are doing. That team is every bit as irrelevant as we have been this past 20 years. So we need to stop treating them like they're special. They are not special. There is nothing special about playing the Dallas Cowboys. I hope their fans tune into this and hear me and accept the truth that is your team is every bit as irrelevant as you wish it wasn't.
That's
Good
right.
day, sir.
Say his name in the comments. All right, Mike. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just I'm hoping we could win, man. Don't want to go on a 3-game losing streak, especially after starting 7-2. That would be madness, I tell you. And Luke McCaffrey, bro, like it's his time to step up because I'm pretty sure the Cowboys are going to do the same thing that Philly did and throw a lot of attention at McLaurin. Diami Brown still dropping passes in his 4th year. And I'm talking like inexcusable drop passes.
Yeah.
So Zacchaeus, he doing whatever. Like, come on, bro. You were a 3rd round pick. You're a rookie. Like, let's get it going, man.
Yeah. Yeah, Diami's recent drops have been really disappointing. Hopefully he works through that. But yeah, don't make the easy things hard. And this is an easy thing to do. At least it seems like let's not make it hard. Let's just not play with our food, get them out the way, and then bring in the backups in the second half of the game to let Jayden rest some more. But he has had 10 days, so hopefully he's going to be in good shape. So, all right, Commanders Declassified. That's it for us. We're out of here. Enjoy the game, and we'll talk at you next week. Make sure you are locked in, subscribed, and tell your friends to tell friends about this wonderful podcast that we do just for you. Commanders Declassified. We are out of here.